Hottest team in the NHL right now. How about the Colorado Avalanche, winners of 9 straight, including a dramatic comeback Sunday against the Pittsburgh Penguins? Kyle Sullivan of Locked On Avalanche joins us to discuss the winning streak and all things Avs as we head into the home stretch next on the Locked On NHL podcast.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Gil Martin here, and welcome everybody to the Monday edition of the Locked On NHL podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On NHL your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you can get new episodes as soon as they drop. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. It is my pleasure to welcome back to the show Shaggy Von Doom himself, the one and only Kyle Sullivan of Locked On Avalanche. And Kyle, great time to be an Avs fan. 9 wins in a row. And, how did they pull off down 4-0 against the Penguins and win this game in OT 5-4?
It's all about how this team is made up. It's at the beginning of the year, you had Ryan Johansson, you had Tomas Tatar, top to bottom, like Ross Colton, Miles Wood. You looked at this roster, it looked like a fantasy team. And yet this team would be careless and just kind of lose games. And it was just, they would win, but there was no oomph. There was no energy. There was no, quote unquote, all the small things of the cup run team from 2022. And it was with a team like this, Nathan MacKinnon, by the way, 121 points. That is the most of an Avalanche player. That's most of Joe Sakic. He had 120. Now Nathan MacKinnon has that crown in Avalanche franchise history. That's a big number. And he has the home point streak. He's having a career year, almost a better than Gretzky type. Like he's having one of those, he's chasing a Gretzky record. All of this is going on, and the Avalanche are rattling off a winning streak after the trade deadline, after acquiring pieces that trading out Ryan Johansson that just didn't work. A Bowen Byram, they gave up on a young defenseman that was regressing. And after committing so much time to an Alex Newhook and that kind of leveling out and regressing, they traded him away. They did the same with Bowen Byram, and you can see the success that they have. This team believes in themselves. And Mikko Rantanen, Nathan MacKinnon, Cale Makar, they're playing, and it's fun. This is the 25th time the Avalanche have come back and won a game. They're a third period team, and they're winning these games, and it's just fun. And you could hear it in their post-game interviews. They're having fun with this, and they believe in the makeup of this roster, and it's refreshing as an Avalanche fan.
Is there one move that was made at the trade deadline that you think made things really click for this team?
It depends on who you ask. If you're a defense wins championship guy, Sean Walker is your man. But if you're an Avalanche fan for the last 6-7 years, a 2C is what the Avalanche need, and that would be Casey Middlestad. He has been exactly what the Avalanche needed, and this team feels absolutely solid. The top 9 of this team feels like you could interchange them however you want and have success. It's almost equivalent to Vegas, how they rolled their lines to win the cup. That's how Colorado's looking this year.
How is Zach Parise looking right now for the Avs?
He's been injured off and on, but when the Avalanche picked him up, you wouldn't know he was sitting at his house, just training at his house. It was plug and play. Zach Parise's looked good for a 39-year-old. And for the amount of money they used on him and the role that he plays, he's great. But with this team, top to bottom, how they look, even Joel Kiviranta has a role in contributions. It's what night in, night out, this team, top to bottom, they know what is asked of them. And not one member is more important than the other. Everyone knows their role. They go in, do their job, and go home.
tough race right now for the division lead. How important is it for this team to win the division? Or, if they finish second or third, so be it.
See, that's where me and my co-host Chris Vaselli on Locked On Avalanche, we've had this discussion because it comes down to matchups. And after last year getting bounced by Seattle, that was embarrassing for the defending Stanley Cup champions. That's not what you want. And then if you broke it down to how it ends this season, that would be Nashville as a matchup potential. And they are also playing incredibly good hockey. And they are a team that you really don't want to match up with right now. Dallas is another matchup the Avalanche could possibly face. They've found success, but when it comes to the playoffs, there's a rocky history between the Avalanche and the Stars. So winning the Central, it's what you want to do, it's what you need to do, and it's some forward trajectory into the postseason, but it's all about matchups. So you're trying to win the Central and also looking behind you on where that falls in that matchup.
Is there a team you'd rather face? Or you said you wanted to avoid Nashville. Is there a team you would like to face out of the possibilities?
See, I like the Dallas matchup. If it's a perfect world, give me that Minnesota, St. Louis bubble team, whoever's floating there. I don't want to have it come down to Winnipeg. They just play the Avalanche in a weird way that it just aggravates Colorado. And like I said, after the Seattle bounce, you don't want another first round exit. You want to keep building back to where this team potentially could be as a cup contender. And you don't want this to fall flat again because you already traded away Tomas Tatar, Ryan Johansson. You don't want every move that you made in the offseason to be a failure. And if you're bouncing the first round again, you're looking at all these wonderful moves and trades that we praised all season to be for nothing.
Obviously, I would assume you don't want to finish third because then you lose home ice.
Yes, and that's home is where the heart is and could be where the Hart Trophy winner is. And the Avalanche are incredible at home right now. And honestly, away is starting to work for the Avalanche again. At the beginning of the year, they set the record for most consecutive road wins. At the beginning of the season, they dropped that to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Ironically enough, they continue with their winning streak against the Pittsburgh Penguins in that comeback on Sunday, and they're continuing both home and away this win streak, and they're starting to win games commandingly on the road again. It's refreshing to see, but going into the playoffs, you definitely want to be at home because that plays to the Avalanche favor.
What is the update right now on Gabriel Landeskog? Will he be available come playoff time? And if so, what, if anything, can we expect from him?
See, this is where you got the wrong host of Locked On Avalanche because my co-host Chris Vaselli, he's always looking around the corner. He's optimistic for Landeskog's return. And I'm of the camp that we have probably seen Landeskog's last days, and the projection is that he will be ready for the postseason. But I beg the question, why? When you look at this team and what they're doing now, why do you need Gabriel Landeskog? No matter his contributions to the team there's not enough words in the English dictionary to provide what he could bring. But where does he fit into the playoffs? He hasn't played in 2 years. I get what he is to this team, but what can he bring that this team isn't already bringing right now?
You talked about Nathan MacKinnon. What makes him so special this year? What is he doing that has taken him to that next level?
It's honestly like he challenges himself. He got the Stanley Cup. Now he's looking for the next thing. It's always McDavid is the highlight. It's every time Connor McDavid does something, he commands the attention of everyone. Nathan MacKinnon deserves that attention as well. And he wants it on himself. And it's almost like Nathan MacKinnon plays the game where there's an extra gear or two that he just doesn't use. He's that skilled. He's a hockey robot. And he goes out there and has fun with it. This year, it's almost like he's going for that Hart. He's got that Stanley Cup. He wants that Hart Trophy this year, and he's doing everything in his power to get it. That's why you're watching this incredible race between him and Kucherov. It's like they're challenging each other because Nathan MacKinnon wants it that bad.
All right, Kyle, why don't you tell our viewers and our listeners where they could find the podcast and where they could find you and your co-host on social media?
You can find Locked On Avalanche on YouTube. Anywhere you find your podcast, just look Locked On Avalanche. You'll find us with the burgundy logo. And you can find me on socials at Shaggy Von Doom. Anywhere you look, Locked On Avalanche as well. On socials, just search Locked On Avalanche.
All right, Kyle, always a pleasure. Thank you.
It's always a pleasure, my friend.
Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. You shouldn't have to worry when you buy tickets to your next big event. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. They have killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, and their best price guarantee, so Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. My favorite feature on Game Time, you go on the app and you can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Game Time has deals on tickets not only up to the start of the event, but even an hour after it starts. It is the place to find last-minute seats. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.